I've been following Konami's beatmania series since graduating high school, and it amazes me that beatmania games are still coming out to this day. It seems like it was yesterday that I found an import shop near my college and picked up a cheap copy of the original Beatmania for PlayStation along with the ASCII controller. Now more than 20 years later, we're on the verge of seeing the 30th release of Beatmania 2DX. Until that time though, the new kid on the block comes from Konami in the form of Dance Around, a motion-based dancing rhythm game. I had heard basic news bits about the game, but I recently had the chance to check it out at a nearby Round 1 location. Immediately the cabinets really stood out with its very tall vertical orientation and vibrant pink display. While the game seems to be a bit of a spiritual successor to Dance Evolution, the very animated presentation really sets this game apart from the crowd. I'm really loving the presentation of this game, but obviously the real test is in how it plays and its selection of music. The player needs to stand in an area away from the monitor, as the cabinet features cameras that track the player's hands and feet. This recognition does work well for the most part, but it does require a cumbersome process where the player is scanned multiple times throughout the course of a gameplay credit. It ultimately isn't a big deal, but it's a strange decision to have the player walk back and forth between the play area and the machine controls and having to be rescanned to enter the gameplay. That is, unless there is a way I'm not aware of to select your songs and options from the play area. I mean, we are talking about the person who took way too long to figure out how to sort songs and pump it up XX. Once I got started in Dance Around, I quickly realized the premise is very similar to Harmonix's Dance Central game using the Kinect peripheral. This setup has cards sliding in from the side in time to the music, with the slide featuring an image that represents a dance move. Once the card slides into the featured, highlighted spot, the player then needs to replicate this dance move. A lot of these at the entry level revolve around hand motions and shimmies from side to side. I only had time to get a couple of games in, so I tried up to difficulty level 5. This presented a few challenges, not quite because it was difficult to keep rhythm and timing, but more so in that I had to learn the dance moves on the fly. So again, similar to Dance Central, the player will need to give the moves a couple of goes so they can recognize the move cards and react accordingly. And the premise of Dance Around is actually that simple. It takes an approach that really encourages learning the dance patterns. This can be quite fun for those who actually vibe to the music while playing the dancing games, but it probably won't do much for the players who take a more purely technical approach to these games. Dance Around is merely checking to make sure your hands and feet are in select areas of the playfield at points of the dance moves, so there are ways to cheat the accuracy of the gameplay and rack up combos and high song rankings. In fact, I've seen a meme post on Twitter that shows a player passing a song in the game by merely standing in a T-pose the entire time. So, unless you are willing to follow along with the dance routines, you're probably not going to get a lot of enjoyment out of Dance Around. I've seen players play a game like Dance Rush with a very reserved motion with the mere goal of getting 100% ratings in the song and still having fun in doing so. However, I don't see a playstyle like this being as prominent in Dance Around. While I'm going to have to eventually check out some of the game's more advanced levels at some point, Dance Around is seemingly looking to pick up more casual play in game centers, and I'm guessing it's a game that will have a better chance of succeeding in the Japanese market compared to the US market. During my visit, I was the only person I observed playing this game over a handful of hours at the arcade on a Saturday, with most every other music game getting frequent play, even those Musica and Theatrhythm cabinets. Another thing working against the game at this time is the slightly limited song list, as I could only access what seemed to be roughly 30 songs. There are more songs you can eventually access through reaching the extra stage and meeting requirements through your eMuse account, but I have to admit the initial display of songs I got when firing up the game for the first time was a little underwhelming. There are some really catchy songs in the game, but another aspect that likely isn't going to help with the first impression Dance Around gives off is that it defaults to easier songs with a lineup of children's songs such as Old MacDonald Had a Farm, Pop Goes the Weasel, If You're Happy and You Know It, and Wheels on the Bus. When I dove into the game, I was beginning to wonder what exactly I'd got myself into, but the folder system is easily accessible, which quickly got me to the EDM section and some songs that suited my interests. However, what does seem promising is that features seem to be added to Dance Around at a decent clip to entice players to return to the machine. I played Dance Around toward the end of July, and checking the Dance Around website close to mid-August shows that 2 songs were added to a summer dancing event, 3 songs were added to a gauge unlock system, and a Hatsune Miku collaboration has added a virtual singer song sort category with 5 new music tracks. These events have also added Nishin Chicken Ramen mascot Hiyoko-chan and Hatsune Miku into the game as avatars. There's no way I could fairly review Dance Around at this point, but upon my first impressions, I would say there are big positives in the game's presentation and its offerings to players who enjoy incorporating dance moves into gameplay. On the flip side though, it's still building its feature set, namely its song list, and it doesn't look like it's going to offer a lot to the rhythm players who are only interested in technical play. I'm still interested in getting more time on the cabinet though, so it offered enough to keep me intrigued, but I can't say it will dig its hooks into me the same way Dance Rush Stardom did. It does seem like the type of game that could potentially do great in a casual Japanese Game Center atmosphere, but I worry that it will fail to find its footing among the US arcade scene. Thankfully, it appears Dance Around will continue to receive frequent updates in the meantime, so we'll see what kind of lifespan the game can ride out. As long as Dance Around can stick around for another month, I'll be able to sink more time into it in my next visit to Round 1.